Hey guys, it's Kate Gorey. It is January the 3rd, 2017. Sorry that I haven't been with you guys for the last couple of weeks, but I've been in the studio and really focusing on the music and trying to get the first CD done and get the other CDs in the can so that they can just be released and I don't have to really do a major amount of work on the music after the first CD is released. It'll be I'll be ready to release the other ones basically. I wanted to talk about today the earthquake that happened December 28th in Japan, and kind of basically talk about the 15-year period that earthquakes have occurred that are greater than a 6.5 magnitude on the Richter scale. Now, I did see Dana Darnford's broadcast, I think it was yesterday on New Year's Day, and he talked about the earthquake and that this is just, the nuclear industry is completely out of control. But they have been out of control. They've been out of control since their inception because the whole reason for the nuclear industry to exist in the first place was I think a eugenics agenda, and so it's kind of easy to see from that standpoint why they would build all of the nuclear facilities along the where the major activity of the earthquakes occur. They've built most of them along the Pacific Ring of Fire, which includes the west coast of the United States, Canada, Central, South America, Japan, China's coastal regions, and a lot of the Pacific Island nations. So I'm not surprised that they built the nuclear reactors along most of those areas that are in the Pacific Ring of Fire and numerous other major fault lines, because they are a eugenics agenda and they are built to basically kill all life and extinguish all life on the planet. The earthquake that happened on December 28th was a major earthquake. It was a 6 point something on the confusing Japanese scale of 7.0, which is not the Richter scale. It's just something they decided to make up that it's just, I think it is just a method to confuse everybody and just have you going, well, what's they're saying it's serious, but it's a 7, but the worst one on the American Richter scale is a 9 or worse, and that's one that will just completely shake the life out of you for 6 minutes or more straight and destroy everything in its path and around its path for hundreds and hundreds of miles within the or outside of the epicenter. So and usually also they cause tsunamis, which causes even more damage. The earthquake that happened in Japan right under the Fukushima plant probably did shake apart most of what was left of those buildings, and there has been a complete media blackout here in America. Of course, that's no big that's no big question mark for most of us that understand what the media is all about anyway. They're just corporate propaganda, and they exist strictly for the sole purpose of creating propaganda for the corporations and for the nuclear PR firms and the military industrial complex and the medical industrial complex, pharmaceutical industrial complex, all of the industrial complexes that are designed to not help you, not help humanity, but kill humanity and animal life too as well. Now, the thing that I worry about is United States. After this earthquake right under the Fukushima plant, I think it was 7 or 8 miles down or deep. It indicates probably that, well, it indicates that melted fuel that achieves supercriticality, which is not supposed to happen, by the way, at a nuclear power plant, because the control rods are supposed to, inject the neutrons into the criticality and try to absorb some of the radiation that's coming out of it and reduce the criticality when they want to. But that's a myth, folks. It's a complete myth. Nuclear power plants are nothing more than nuclear bombs, really. Because if an earthquake, when an earthquake happens around one of these nuclear power plants, and the control rods are blown apart, which is what happened at the Fukushima plant, then you have a trigger of criticality, and it's a supercriticality, and it keeps on occurring. The chain reaction doesn't stop, and it can't be stopped because the control rods that absorb are supposed to absorb the neutrons and reduce the criticality are no longer existent. So you have the cores, the reactor cores, that achieve supercriticality, like in an atomic bomb, and you basically have an atomic bomb on your hands. Not basically, you do have an atomic bomb on your hands. So that is what happened at the Fukushima nuclear facilities. You had 4 major, huge nuclear bombs blow up and achieve complete supercriticality, and it hasn't stopped. The fuel that aerosolized and went into our hydrologic cycle, our water cycle, our food cycle, our oceans, the plutonium and all of the americium, curium, all of those deadly isotopes that were created as a result of this accident, some that we don't even know about because all of the fuel melted and aerosolized, and God only knows what isotopes are being created now, and no one can get close enough to that plant to study that, plant, I don't like to call it plant. No one can get close enough to that facility to even go in there and risk trying to study it. I think they've evacuated everybody out of there, as they should have, and nuclear power is it's a serious zap of resources, money, lives, animal, plant, human. It just does nothing but it's a death cult. I mean, these people are absolutely crazy that engage in this kind of behavior. If you work with nuclear power, if you're a nuclear scientist, if you're an advocate of that, if you have anything to do with that, you are an absolute not only moron, but you are a harbinger of death, and you hate life, because there's no other way around it. You can't be pro-life or pro-human, pro-animal, pro-anything that's human, and be pro-nuclear, unless you're an absolute fool, and then you don't know what the hell you're talking about, so you need to shut your pie hole. We could easily have nuclear bombs blow up on the scale of Fukushima or worse here in the United States, because all of the power plants are built on the serious fault lines, like Diablo Canyon, San Onofre. I'm reading from one of the things that I pulled up on the Glitch News, about the California nuclear reactors built near the fault lines, Diablo Canyon, San Onofre. The fact that Diablo Canyon plant was designed with a maximum stress level of 7.5 is alarming enough, but the San Onofre plant, built in the major metropolitan areas, very highly densely populated areas of San Diego and Los Angeles, have a maximum stress level of only 7.0. Now, if you know anything about California, this is a major earthquake area, okay? The San Onofre plant, which is again situated close to the ocean, which is a disaster in itself, because when a major earthquake happens and all the power goes out, you have about an hour and a half before those nuclear reactors reach criticality, because you can't control the fuel rods, and if the fuel rods are blown apart, then you lose any method of control whatsoever, and it's going to go critical, and it's not going to stop. Until all of the isotopes burn themselves out, which is going to be on a scale of hundreds of thousands of years, if not more. Some of them will burn themselves out fairly early, but those are usually the tracer isotopes. And when you say that something like I-131 has a half-life of 8 days, yes, it does, but you're not taking into consideration the fact that that also creates other isotopes when they decay. When I-131 decays, it decays into several isotopes: 132, 133, 128, 129, all of the sister isotopes, and some of those isotopes have a half-life of hundreds of thousands or a million years. So why would anyone build reactors on major fault lines? Because they do it on purpose. Why did Tokyo Electric Power Plant build its reactor on a known fault line? Because they knew it wouldn't pay for the full cost of a meltdown when it occurred. Not if, when it occurred. Because they can't be insured. Okay? The unpayable, in nuclear power, unpayable potential liability is routine. How can you insure something that has a potential liability to kill anything and everything around it? You can't. Okay? So they don't give a shit about the fact that they build them on major fault lines, and that you and your communities and the fault line, or the reactors that's built around these fault lines, when they do melt down, it's not an if, when they melt down, are not insured. And the governments are all in on this military-industrial complex. All of these entities are involved in this, and you know, they say they're privately owned, but they're government run, and they could care less about the meltdowns, even though it affects their families and their, you know, the people that they have in their families. These people don't care about anybody or anything. If you're a nuclear scientist, if you work in nuclear science, if you work anywhere around that field, you are what I call a harbinger of death. You are just a worthless human being, and I hope that you can be redeemed. I don't know if you can. I think you're demonic. I think that you hate life, and you hate... I don't think you have a conscience. I don't think you have anything that resembles a conscience. If you did, you certainly wouldn't be in the nuclear industry. Okay? So that's just my take on it, and that's not conjecture. That is proven, and everything that I'm talking about, everything that I'm saying is backed up by science, empirical science. And here in the Gulf Coast area of Mississippi, we've been besieged by radioactive fallout for the last couple of weeks in the rain. We're being hammered relentlessly by rain, heavy rain, heavy storms. And you know, you do have to get out of your house every once in a while and, you know, go get some food and go get supplies. And I don't know about everybody else, but I don't have you know, a government issued radiation contamination suit. If I did have one, I can guarantee you I'd be wearing it right now, along with the full mask and the full respirator and everything else, because I certainly don't like breathing in radioactive hot particles. I don't like eating them. Of course, it doesn't matter about that, because it's in our food chain, and if you haven't been below ground before 2011, you know, you've ingested or inhaled or breathed in enough hot particles. It only takes one, by the way, to just hammer your body and destroy your DNA and shred apart your internal organs and your system until you die. And these a lot of people around here have been experiencing flu symptoms. That is a direct result of nuclear fallout. I studied radioactive radiation sickness, acute radiation sickness, and a lot of people are experiencing acute radiation sickness syndrome with flu-like symptoms, and you know, just getting extremely sick, having strokes, heart attacks, lots of infant mortality around this area, lots of autism, lots of immune disorders. I have friends that are you know, no more than 22, 23 years old that have you know, extreme immune disorders that you just wouldn't believe that, you know, kids and young people have these immune disorders, but they do, and it's caused by all of this radiation that's now in our biosphere, in our food chain, in our air, in our soil, in our water. So limit your exposure to the rain. Don't get out in the radioactive rain. You can't limit your drinking water. I pray over my water. I try to restructure my water. And I do take a type of iodine. It's called Survival Shield X2 to try to protect my thyroid gland. And I do take a lot of vitamin C, vitamin B12. I'm going to start eating, like peach pits. There's a nut inside of the peach pit that contains B17, and it fights cancer cells. I do take a lot of turmeric, a lot of magnesium. Try not to get depleted on magnesium. Just your minerals, because the food is being, completely raped of all of the minerals and nutrients, because radioactivity, depletes nutrients in the food source, and it depletes them in your body as well. So stay strong, try to stay healthy, and do go to Dana Durnford at the nuclearproctologist.org site and donate if you can to his cause, because he is putting the information out there. Go and see the pre and the post-nuclear, or pre and post Fukushima pictures that he took off the coast, what was the beautiful coast of British Columbia, right along the Pacific Ocean. The sea life and the aquatic life was just stunningly beautiful there before Fukushima. After Fukushima, it's barren, and there's just nothing there, and it's extremely sad. It's extremely. I mean, it just blows your mind to think that we are in an extinction level event, and nobody is stepping up to the plate to help mitigate this problem. There's no one from any of these major universities that's going over to that area. They don't want to get close to that. They know that if they go anywhere near that, those four that we know of, crippled nuclear facilities that contain multiple reactors, and the fuel pools are gone. They no longer exist on the crippled buildings. If they get anywhere near those facilities, you're gonna die. You're gonna if you get too close to them, because with radiation there's the factors of time, distance, and shielding. So if you get too close, it will take very little time for you to die. And the distance, if you get too close, the distance is going to get you, because the radioactivity is extremely high level in those areas, and you've got 9,000 plus degrees Fahrenheit that they can measure around those crippled facilities. So, nobody's stepping up to go and mitigate those problems, but eventually we're going to have to, if we want to see any life at all thrive on this planet, or continue on this planet. So I'm going to sign out for now. Happy New Year. I can't wait to get the music out to you guys. I can't wait to have you hear it. It's great. It's been a lot of fun. It's really one of the only things that I get a lot of joy from, because that and my family, my animals, and my friends. And we're taking the time we have, and we're putting it to good use, because I don't know how much time anybody has left here. But I wish you all well. It's Kay Corey signing out for now. Be safe, be strong, and hugs to everybody. Hugs to all my Fukushima hounds. Dana Durnford, love you for what you're doing, and thank you.